Hi, welcome to today's live stream. It is Monday, March 25th, 2024. Lots to cover today. What I want to cover today is more from a macro global perspective. And I want to share what we're going to see with a potential impact in the equity markets. Just things to be aware of if you're not already, although I'm sure you are. Let's dive in. So here we go. We're looking at the home screen for Sterling Stock Picker. This is the new section that we're titling Interesting Stocks. I think we're going to change it to Stocks on the Move because these are all companies that are really crushing it out there and doing really well. And we've also linked whichever ones are stock rockets today, and also on this list, we show the stock rocket. For those of you who might be new to the software, the stock rockets are located under winning stocks, stock rocket. This is potentially the area in the software where you will make the most money from investing in these companies. Here's NVIDIA. This was my #1 pick for the year. Performing really, really well. Still have a buy rating on that stock. And then you'll notice some of these have been on this list recently. So the ones that continue to show up will provide you with the greatest rate of return. We've listed them in terms of risk. So if you're looking for a low risk stock on the stock rockets, just click through and you can see here Renaissance Holdings Limited, low risk company. It's an industry best stock as well. And so all you do is just scroll up and pick the sector that you're interested in. If you're looking for high risk stock, these would be stocks that are going to perform well, that have been volatile in the past, and that's why they're deemed high risk. So take a look through this section and then compare it to what we're seeing here under this section here, interesting stocks. And when you combine the two, for example, this company, Direct Digital Holdings, this has been on our list for a few days now on the stock rocket list and on this interesting stock list. When you combine those two, take a look. It might be worth your while to pick up some shares. It is high risk, so if you can handle high risk in your portfolio, it might be a terrific investment for you. All right, so let's get into what I want to talk about today. So I just did a very preliminary search on this topic for the past 24 hours, and I was curious to see how much information popped up. And actually, there's quite a bit of information going through here. If you scroll through, you can take a look and see, what is being discussed in that arena. Although it just seems like after this weekend, things have really kicked up a notch in this particular topic. And so just, something to be aware of what is being discussed and, what seems to be going on. Frankly, it does feel like things have, like I mentioned, got taken up a notch and accelerated. Let's call it that. Accelerated. All right, store closings, interesting to see. I talked about this last week, how it affected Dollar Tree stores. Closing in the US, not Canada at the moment, but definitely in the US. And I was curious. I was like, what else is, out there? And most recently, a lot of retailers are closing. We talked about Family Dollar, there's Best Buy, Macy's, Rite Aid, Walgreens. Guest stores to close 100 stores worldwide. And when you look at this over the next 18 months, companies, when they can reduce their brick and mortar expenses, obviously it makes them more profitable. A lot of companies deploy a strategy like this to reduce the number of stores they have, to make their balance sheet look better, more financially stable, healthy, and frankly, everything is online anyway, right? So as they continue to ramp up their online presence, maybe they don't need as many brick and mortar stores. Let's see this report from Bloomberg. As many as 25,000 stores are expected to close. Guess Inc. plans to close about 100 stores worldwide, about 9% of its network. Makes sense. And then it talks about the stock, right? Recent stock performance, like I mentioned, as well, there we go. The recent stock performance and expected demand under our new normal model made very clear that our store portfolios around the world could be optimized to increase profitability. So that's what they're saying here. The more stores they close, they're going to make more money. This is interesting. As many as 25,000 stores are expected to shut this year, a record rate according to CoreSite Research. That's a lot of stores, isn't it? 25,000 to shut this year in 2024. Huh. Very, very interesting. Let's talk about consumer prices. Talked about this on an overall level last week. Wanted to drill down into the 12-month percent change of the consumer price index and look at the winner, winner, motor vehicle insurance, 12-month change, 20.6% increase. Whew, like that is going to affect a lot of people. And it's interesting that that is the category that has increased the most out of all these is insurance. And there's like a lot of floods happening and a lot of hail damage, and all these cars have to go in for repairs with that, and it does tax the insurance companies. But boy, a 20.6% increase, which is very interesting and in line with Agenda 2030 that is wanting a reduction in automobiles, personal ownership of automobiles. So I just find this very interesting, that motor vehicle. So just wait. When you go to renew yours, you might be surprised, and not in a good way, that your rates have gone up considerably. Here's an interesting, I did a search on the United States Code. This is the Office of the Law Revision Council, United States Code on EMP. Just thought I'd type that in and see what came up. And very interesting to me is March 24th. A lot of these postings are yesterday, the past week, March 24th. These are actually all March 24th. And as you click through some of these things, it just really feels like the agenda is saying, hey, we are potentially in for a potential EMP attack. And that would speak to our systems, our ability to communicate with one another, our ability to get online. It would just wreak havoc, wouldn't it? In our lives, frankly. So I just found this very interesting, that the day that I go to this website, a lot of these have been a lot of these are from yesterday, from this past week. So you'd have to click through. I just clicked through on a couple of the links, but it won't show on my screen share. So take a look. I'll put these links in the show notes as well, and you can have a look for yourself. And then I just did a search. U.S. warrants that hackers are carrying out disruptive attacks on water systems. So like already happening, right? Already happening. This was posted last week, March 20th. And it says here, the U.S. government is warning state governors that foreign hackers are carrying out disruptive cyber attacks against water and sewage systems throughout the country. In a letter released Tuesday, the National Securities Advisor, Jack Sullivan, and Environmental EPA Administrator Michael Reagan warned that disabling cyber attacks are striking water and wastewater systems throughout the U.S. So I'm not certain where these are, but just the digital safety of water and sewage plants has long been a concern for cybersecurity professionals because the facilities provide a critical service and can often be lightly defended. Last year's intrusion at a booster facility, which monitors and regulates water pressure in Pennsylvania, drew particular attention in part because the stricken controller was replaced with a message saying, "You've been hacked." Now, no damage to the water system was reported, but in a statement released, an industry group called the Water Information Sharing Analysis Center said this may not be an isolated incident. So we don't really even know. Well, here we go. Tuesday's letter called on governors to ensure that all water systems in your state comprehensively assesses their current cybersecurity practice. So always a good thing, right? And here's that letter, by the way, that came out to the governors from March 18th, talking about this exact issue, and citing the People's Republic of China state-sponsored cyber group known as Volt Typhoon has compromised information technology of multiple critical infrastructure systems, including drinking water in the U.S. and its territories. Volt Typhoon's choice of targets and pattern of behavior are not consistent with traditional cyber espionage. So that's interesting, consistent with it. Federal departments and agencies assess with high confidence that Volt Typhoon actors are pre-positioning themselves to disrupt critical infrastructure operations in the event of geopolitical tensions and or military conflicts. So it almost seems like and sounds like this is happening all at once, right? This increase in geopolitical tension, military conflict on the rise, rapidly escalating, and saying that a potential disruption to our critical infrastructure right in the middle of eclipse season, right? There was an eclipse last night, a lunar eclipse, partial lunar eclipse that took place, and now on the 8th, April 8th, is a total solar eclipse, and there's just a lot of speculation that it may cause some disruption. And interesting, many schools are closing school closing for solar eclipse. You can look at some of these. Why are some schools closing for the solar eclipse? Why is school canceled on a solar eclipse? So yeah, just schools across Ottawa are closed due to a rare solar eclipse. Some it's a lost teaching. Some say it's a lost teaching opportunity. This is happening in the U.S. and Canada. That many schools are closing for this event, and not even quite sure why. But at any rate, just interesting. Would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the chat what you think about schools closing during the eclipse on April 8th. And lastly, how has the stock market performed in times of war? Equity markets have historically been surprisingly resilient during war and conflict. I mean, it seems as if we've always been on some level in our world in a state of war, whether it's spoken of or not, and the equity markets continue to climb higher. And there's a lot of as I look through this, there's a lot of information that compares the stock market to what happened in World War II. And I don't think that's a fair comparison because we are in such a different time with the equity markets. I mean, there's just so much money going into the equity markets, so many investors. And it just really feels like this is one of the few places, an opportunity for people to really make money. And that's going to continue. So as money continues to pour into the market, a lot is supply and demand. could the market potentially pull back if war, let's say, escalates and there's a global World War III actually breaks out? Frankly, it almost seems like this is already happening, this issue here. And so far, the market has been very resilient during this time, hasn't it? That's my thought on this, folks. I hope you have a fantastic holiday for those who celebrate coming up here this weekend. Enjoy. I will not be with you next Monday, but I'll be back in the saddle early April after our Easter holiday. Thanks again for your support. We greatly appreciate you.